Hello there, and welcome back to the SWTVC podcast, where we're the spirits of the forest moon. We're brave, we are bold, like our storytellers told, that we're strong and we will fight and we will stand up for our rights to keep 375 alive. That's got to tell you something about this episode, does it? We'll find out. I'm your host, Evan, and I am joined today, as always, by John, aka at The Vintage Concepts, and we are here to chat about Star Wars toys and some spin-offs. But before we do that, let's just go into the regular parts of the show at the beginning, such as mail call. John, what's coming in these days?
Yes, we went over a lot of it on the last episode, but since then I have gotten the Armorer's Forge. Have you gotten that as well?
Yes, I did. I got that from Shop Disney.
Yes, I did the same.
I have not opened it yet.
Oh, I opened mine as well as the second one I had to get for the carded figure inside. Love when they do that, of course.
Yeah.
But it's nice. Maybe you could have used a little paint on the rocks, because a lot of the play sets have zero paint. I think all of them have absolutely zero paint. Maybe it works more for synthetic stuff for walls as opposed to, but under the right lighting and stuff, it looks nice. I love all the accessories in there, and it's a pretty nice little set, and it's a fun way to build out the Season 3 covert on that lakeside covert world that we all know and love so much.
Iconic.
Yes. It goes well with the Shriek-Hawk and the Mandalorian Judge and all these things, but so hopefully you'll enjoy it when you open it up.
Yeah, I was meaning to open it up because I bought two, one for the carded figure, and I was going to at least put the armor in a star case, but I have not gotten around to it.
Yes.
I know another thing was shipping as well, the New Republic E-Wing. I know a lot of folks were getting that on Shop Disney. Hasbro Pulse sent out ship notifications.
It is nice. I know people are saying, it could have used a wash, could have used the paint wash, some weathering or whatever, but it does have a lot of deco on it, like all the little warning signs and little things that maybe would have been stickers in previous lines. I think it looks great overall. Some of the canopy is kind of difficult to open and shut. Sometimes it kind of it's stuck, and then there's like a little bit of a gap at the front. But overall it's quite nice, and I love the figure that comes with it, the KE4N4, the droid that looks like the vintage R2. I don't have the retro collection one to compare it to, but
speaking of retro collection,
yes, both. You've had these for a while. Sorry, everybody. Trigger
don't
warning
out me like that.
For retro. But the Acolyte and the prequel sets for retro collection. If you're not mad at us for talking about retro, you'll get mad at us for talking about the prequels or the Acolyte. So here we go, all in one. But those also shipped from a Disney store a little early, right? Or earlier than Hasbro Pulse.
I feel like I've had them for weeks now. Close to a month.
I only just got them. I think we forgot to mention them on the big rundown last episode. But retro, it's 375. It's TVC adjacent, but still got to crack those open. But yeah, finally, after a very long time without any new retro stuff, those are now hitting. And then the more figures from the Thrawn wave, the current new vintage wave, are en route from Pulse for me. Another thing where, some of them shipped, and then Bo-Katan is like stuck idling.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. They're using DHL for a lot of this stuff now, which is not as reliable as FedEx.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed that they switched to DHL. I didn't think we had DHL out here in the boonies, but yet here I am waiting on things that shipped weeks ago to show up.
It's just one driver from the nearest city, hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
And then you don't have Moff Gideon's cruiser hallway either, right?
I do. I have one.
Okay.
I got one from Amazon, and then the second one I am waiting on from Pulse. But I did get Mando super cool backpack and K2 shipped from Pulse, and those should be showing up eventually. I found this wave in the wild at Walmart the other day, and I went to go check out to get the duplicates of the ones that I didn't have openers of, and maybe this is something that other people have talked about a lot. I've been a little unplugged from what's going on, so I'm just catching up. But they all rang up for wild random prices. K2 rang up for $18. The Jump Trooper rang up for like almost $24, I think. So needless to say, I did not purchase them. But I did find them at another Walmart, and they price matched them for the $16.99 or $16.97 tag. But is that a common thing that people are finding weird pricing discrepancies on these?
I haven't seen anything about that, but I haven't really seen it in many store reports at all. I wonder if it's Is it tied to their website, which has like weird dynamic pricing based on third parties and stuff? I don't know.
I have no idea. It was weird when, yeah, when that thing rang up at 24 or like 23.97 or something. I was like,
I
that
was like,
is
I'm good.
no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that today. So
Oh boy.
yeah, but we already talked about that wave, though. We don't need to get too far into
No,
it.
no, no.
But what's going on around the community these days? I hear that there was a certain video that showed up Friday.
Yes, I believe, and it was supposed to only go for backers of the Ghost Haslab in their emails, but I think we shared the link without realizing. Maybe we weren't supposed to share it. Whatever, they're going to share it more widely soon, apparently. But it was an unboxing video of the Haslab Ghost, starring designer Chris Reif, going over all the details of the Ghost as he unboxed it, and it looks awesome. The box is just absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
The ship looks great. I know some of the hot studio lights, the bright lights, made it look a little brighter than maybe it will in person. I'm not sure. But did you watch the whole video? Were you able to check that out?
I skimmed through it because I did want to get a sense of scale because I got 5 of those coming in and I don't know what I'm going to do with that.
Yeah.
But I was really curious because I wanted to know how the figures were going to show up because I did not love how the figures were packed in previous HasLabs. And this one is very much like I was hoping they were going to do ever since we got the Boba Fett's throne room set where they had the separate boxes inside. I see that that's what they're sticking with for these large items. I really do appreciate that. And it looks like the figures have their own dedicated flat box that they are secured into. So very excited about that.
With like a little cardboard thing, the bubbles are peeking out, but then the rest of the
Yes.
cardboard is kind of making sure the cards stay nice and fresh.
Yep. I like that a lot. I'm really, really happy about that.
Yeah. I would just hope the other ones don't weigh down on it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. Everything's going to work out just fine as it always does.
I'll have 5 to pick from. God. Anyway, someone hit me up in the next month and a half. If you're looking for a Ghost, I'll probably need to part with them. So not all of them, of course, but yeah.
So-
We also, sorry.
No, yeah, just this. It's confusing. I'm not sure what's happening with the confusion around the Snowtrooper fan channel wave.
Yeah, what's going on with that, John? I know I've texted you about it, and you're probably like, "Yeesh, this guy just open Instagram." So,
but you got to stay up to the minute with this thing. I don't know. It'll be old news by the time this publishes, I hope. But some Entertainment Earth orders for this wave showed the mixed wave case as canceled for a couple days, during which time someone asked the customer service chat about it and got the answer that Hasbro told Entertainment Earth that they were not going to offer this wave as a mixed wave case anymore, just as singles. But now those orders don't show as canceled anymore. They just show as pre-sold out. But the orders still seem to be valid. My order is still valid for that wave. In the meantime, during the confusion, I went to Pulse and was able to pre-order all the figures again anyway, in the quantities that were going to be in the case. I'm not worried about it, not panicked about it yet. Maybe it's something, maybe it's nothing, just like every TVC controversy. I'm getting flashbacks to when Target took their peg away 6 months ago and then put it back 5.5 months ago. But
my conspiracy theory is that they couldn't keep up with the demand for the ankleless Aura Singh repack. So, but
as valid a theory as any other. Yeah.
I did though, just for safety, I guess I did go and order 4 more Stormtroopers from GameStop, and I had a couple ordered from Amazon as well. Sorry,
how dare you?
Sorry, Hoth Battle Gear Stormtroopers, aka
yes.
Snowtroopers. Yeah,
yes.
Whatever. Fake fan. Sorry, I'll revoke my card here soon. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little irritated where we get these definitive troopers, where we've got the Snowtrooper coming, and then same with like the Stormtrooper, where that took 4 years for that figure to ever make it to mainline retail. Like, why are these definitive troopers fan channel, and why do weird things keep happening with the waves that they're in? It's weird to me. I find that frustrating. I wish that I'm glad that the Stormtrooper finally made it out. I've seen that on pegs and I've seen it sell pretty well just at retail. It's good to have that there. I think the Snowtrooper would be a slam dunk main line wave figure. I don't know why it's not.
Yeah.
But whatever, man. I don't make the decisions over there. So
seems strange. Seems like it's selling well by all accounts. So
But yeah, so we've also got, I know we touched on it. I think the Gift of the Galaxy thing is in full swing now. John, you wrote a note here.
Yes. So it's actually confirmed now. So apparently, Vintage Collection is supposed to see something during this initiative, as per what they released for the marketing blurb. Black Series already got something for the first week, which was last week at the time of recording this. A couple of Gaming Greats 2-packs at Amazon. There will be reveals every Tuesday through December 17th, so there may be a new vintage reveal by the time you hear this episode. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe. It's supposed to be
That would be
something
nice.
Hasbro every week. A lot of the times it's just socks
Yeah.
or, tote bags and things like that with these Gift of the Galaxy type reveals. But
Yeah.
keep hope alive as always. I don't know.
For sure. And I know, at the time that we're recording this, it is Life Day, actually. So last year we did a Life Day episode. Was that last year or the year before?
2 years ago.
Who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, so happy Life Day, John.
Happy Life Day.
I know Disney just had, Disney Store has their Life Day merchandise drop that included something I was very excited about today, the Ren lightsaber. A character that's shown up in maybe a dozen panels of a comic book, and I've got a lightsaber from it. Will I ever have an action figure of the Ren? God, no, I probably never will. At least not in 3 3/4 inch. I guarantee that. But
did you also see today, to celebrate Wookiees, they're releasing a Gunji lightsaber finally? I don't know if you've even seen that yet. Yeah.
No.
I get to break the news.
Holy okay, I'm not going to swear on that one.
Holy Kashyyyk.
Okay,
yeah,
so we're getting the gun. Is it releasing today or just
November 30th, I believe. They just announced it today, probably for Life Day maybe, but
damn, Disney wants my money, man. All right, well, I'm excited about that.
Yes, glad I got to break the news. So
thank you. It's a Life Day miracle.
It truly, truly is.
Oh man,
should we set it up, even though we already set it up on the other?
Okay, well, to further celebrate Life Day, John, we also wanted to prove that despite our constant talking about Star Wars and Star Wars figures, we've somehow managed to find people who love us. And so we've put that love to the test, and John and I had our partners watch the Ewok duology with us.
Yes, why is the main question, but secondarily, why now? So aside from it being Life Day and the Ewok movies being very spiritually close to the holiday special, with Ewoks basically being half-sized Wookiees with much less technical prowess, that's why they exist, we are also right around the corner from Skeleton Crew, which, spoiler alert, will have at least one connection to these movies. And having mentioned that I've only seen the first movie on this podcast a number of times, I need to regain my fan cred by actually watching the second one. So it was a wonderful time in the early to mid 1980s where Ewoks were absolutely everywhere. So in addition to the Ewoks animated series, which you sang the theme song of at the beginning, E-E-E-E-E-E-EWOKS, I still need to power through and finish. Need being a strong word there. Yeah. The world was also blessed with 3 Ewok movies. First and foremost, the ultimate Ewok movie being Return of the Jedi, released, of course, in 1983, followed the next year by Caravan of Courage, an Ewok adventure, 40 years ago on November 25th, 1984, sometimes called just the Ewok Adventure, and then wrapping it up with Ewoks, The Battle for Endor on November 24th, 1985, the real, some may say best, Star Wars trilogy.
Yes.
Nobody would say that, but yes.
All right. Well, we sat down with your wife, Eliza, and my partner, Quinn, and we chatted about those movies, and I'm going to throw to that right now. So let's get a little bit of background, though, here. John, where are you at with Ewoks in general?
I'm pro Ewok, probably not surprising to listeners to find that out. But I remember being so excited shortly after becoming a fan and collector a year or two later when I found out there was a 2-pack of Wicket and Logray in the Power of the Force 2 line. I got very excited about that and made it my life's goal to find them, which I did. Happy ending there. And, as we mentioned last year on the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary episode, people act like the original trilogy was always universally beloved, but, that was not necessarily the case. A lot of older fans hated the Ewoks. They thought they were too kiddie. They thought they were a cash grab, whatever. But there's a quote from George Lucas who's like, if I wanted to make money, I know how to do it. I don't need teddy bears to do it, so don't worry about it. But what about you, Evan?
I I'm pro Ewok, but insofar as that, I loved them when I was a kid, because shocker, who knew Star Wars is made for kids, uh, and so I love them. We've talked about it on the show where I had the confusion of was it Paplu and Tika. Tebow, where
Tebow,
I
yeah.
was always confusing the names of these guys. And I wanted to kick myself for that, but does it really matter? Uh, but yeah, I did find myself very excited when like Ewoks popped up in a couple new canon books. I do love Return of the Jedi, uh, but my mileage maybe varies a little bit the more Ewok content I get. I'll just say that.
I think I may have hit my saturation point for a little while.
Yes, but John, have you seen these movies before?
I have seen the first one. So they put them both in like a double-sided DVD 20 years ago in November
Yeah,
2004, exactly 20 years ago.
yeah,
And I saw the first one then, and as I probably joked before, that's why I didn't see the second one
yeah.
until now, because it's we'll get into the why. But so this was the first time watching Battle for Endor for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
I honestly was pretty confident I had seen both of these. But then when we were about 5 minutes into Battle for Endor, I was like, oh, this is kind of new to me. So, but it
Nice.
was stored deep away in my memory palace, and we'll go over why. Um, well, we've got some special guests today, and I don't know, should we introduce them?
Yes, you go
Uh,
first.
Okay, well, I'm joined today by my partner, Quinn. Uh, First off, I'm so sorry that you have to be here for this, but thank you for being here for this.
Thank you for having me.
Um, First question I just want to ask you is what's your relationship to Star Wars?
Actually, so I knew of Star Wars, obviously, but it wasn't until we started dating around 9 years ago that I was formally introduced to it. So I got to see all the films in the correct order with this sweet man being my shepherd. And yeah, ever since it's been a constant thread through our relationship and now my life. I've got some Star Wars tattoos. I know the lore. I'm here for it.
Just real quick, you said the correct order. Don't say what it is. I don't want people to know. Just listeners, whatever order you think is the correct order is totally the order I showed her. So don't worry.
Alarm bells did go off in my head when I heard that, so thank you for addressing.
That's why I wasn't specific, just the right order. You guys know what order that is. It was the right order.
Yeah, yeah. Look at that. I'm doing so good. Uh, do you have a favorite memory of Star Wars, Quinn?
Once again, colored by my partner Evan here, but it'd probably be at the end of Return of the Jedi when I cried very hard with the Force ghosts showing up at the end of the film. And oh my God, I knew Evan was watching me go through this. So he was just watching my emotional arc the whole time. And it was nuts. So that's probably one of my favorite memories is to be ugly crying. And this man was still in love with me. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Do you have a favorite character?
Oh, it's hard, but I think I have to say Anakin just because I love everybody that gets stuck in his orbit. Like I love Obi-Wan and I love Padme and I love Ahsoka. And so I think it just makes it him that he's central to all of my favorite lore. So it's Anakin. Even when he's Vader, I still see him as Anakin. Bless his heart. So yep, it's gonna be Anakin.
The correct answer was Wicket, but thank you. All right, and that's our part. We also have someone else here special.
Wow, my own wife, Eliza, right here,
Hi, everyone.
finally on the podcast. So what is your relationship to Star Wars?
Great question. My relationship to Star Wars is I grew up with the prequels and loving the prequels. I had not seen the original trilogy prior to seeing the prequels. So that was my introduction. Grew up with the prequels, loving them. Pretty sure I saw them all in theaters with my family. And then I think, when we started dating, well, excuse me, in college, I was reprimanded, I remember, for having not seen the original trilogy. So in college, I watched them with friends. And so that was my first time watching them. And then when we started dating, watching them again in order could have been the correct order or not the correct order, unsure. But yeah, I've only seen the original trilogy maybe like 2 or 3 times through
Wow,
in my life.
all our listeners just quit.
I know, I'm sorry, but I've seen the prequels like a billion times, and those are definitely my favorite.
Yes, I remember you saying something about that one of the first nights that we met. That kind of my ears perked up. There's more going on, but I can't lie and say that wasn't part of it. Do you have? So, what's your favorite movie out of the series? Then, would you say?
It's definitely what I'm the worst. It's the second of the prequels.
For all my memory of all this stuff, she does not have.
I have
that.
a terrible
Attack of the
memory.
Clones.
Attack of the Clones. That iconic battle scene in the arena, like that really got me. And also the love story. I'm a sucker for that.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I was as, if not more, awkward than Anakin during our courtship. So it really spoke to her.
Everything, I assume everything that I know it's true for me, but I assume everything you also, John, that we know about love and romance, we learned from that movie.
Of course.
George Lucas wrote how we think love is supposed to happen. So
It
Absolutely.
shows. It shows.
It shows.
So, do you have a favorite character then, or?
Yes, and I want you to guess what you think it is. Because I'm just curious what you think. I think it's pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious. Jar Jar? I don't know.
No.
Should
I
be.
mean, I do love, I am a huge Jar Jar fan, so that is a good.
Wicket? I don't know.
No?
Tell me.
Think prequels, babe.
Anakin? Padme?
It's Padme.
Okay, great.
Of course it's Padme. The
Great.
fashion, her attitude. She's just a boss. I won't say a curse word. She's a boss lady. And yeah, I love her.
She gets it done.
Yeah.
So, were you guys aware? We probably don't, since the Ewok movies are not as crucial to our fandom, perhaps. I guess, did you guys know that these movies existed? These Ewok movies?
No, absolutely not until a few days ago.
No, even up until the point that Evan put the first one on and I saw a 90-minute film, I'm like, oh, this is a film. It's not a special. I thought it was going to be like an after-school special. I was like, oh, maybe 30, 45 minutes. Nope. So up until it started, it's like, oh, this is a film. Gotcha.
it's just an unblinking Ewok staring down the barrel of the camera, lecturing you to not do drugs as one of the other ones is strung out and dying.
They can't blink. They've done too many drugs.
Well, I mean, now that
Yeah.
we've touched on that, should we jump into these movies a little bit?
Let's do it.
All right. Well,
Let's hang glide into these movies, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Oh God. Yes, I really,
2 times.
I loved the hang glider toy that I have now even more. A whole
Yeah.
new respect for it. So let's start off with yes. The answer is no. The Ewoks don't blink in these movies, and that was one of the first things that Quinn clocked with an "oh God," like just gasping in horror. Like, is this a horror movie? And I had to mention to her that was one of the special edition changes. 20 years ago? Was that the 2004 or 2011?
2011, they added blinking only to Wicket and some of the walklings, the babies.
Yeah.
So very few of them blink, but yeah, you don't really notice it in Return of the Jedi because it's like the editing and everything's moving fast. But now, when they're the stars of the show, front and center, having continuous conversations, it matters a little more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange because it's supposed to. It feels like it's supposed to be a children's film and for families, but it is quite horrifying to look at. So it was just an interesting choice.
While we were watching, I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's like, okay, the unblinking, it's off-putting, but like we grew up with hard-eyed teddy bears and stuff like that. Like, we've seen this medium try and be cute and approachable. I think it was just a coming together of too many bad elements, one being the blinking and then one being the actor's choice to like lick the mask, like
Yeah.
lick the teeth. I was like, I think I could have gotten over the eyes, honestly, if there wasn't just like an additional element like that.
Yeah, use the tongue to manipulate the teeth, and I think that made it so much worse.
Yes, the most iconic Star Wars tongue since Jar Jar Binks.
Oh,
Um,
God.
and to that point, yeah, there's Wicket's got a lot of tongue action going on. Their mouths don't move either in the
Not
first
at all,
one at
not
all.
one bit.
Mm-mm.
And then in the second one, they do move, which is almost worse because it's like totally the chin is totally detached from the rest of the mask,
Yeah.
and it's very unsettling. They move. I'm trying to think. In Return of the Jedi, they move kind of a little bit, just like a little bit. They move enough to get the idea across that they're like living
Well,
creatures.
And the Ewoks aren't doing a whole lot of like heavy lifting with dialogue,
No,
which I want to get into this now because the first movie, it's like, well, okay, we're doing the same thing the holiday special did, where there's just nobody speaking English for the first hour or so, except for the parents, who the mom drops like a straight solid 2-minute block of exposition. Just, oh, where are the kids? Oh, they should have listened to me. We're stranded on this planet. If only we hadn't have done this, this, and this. And we'll find them. Like, just laying it all out so you don't have to worry about it. And then just a weirdly dropped in narrator just every once in a while to kind of check in and be like, well, you're probably wondering just what the heck is going on, and I'll tell you. And it's like, cool.
he really helped. That was Burl Ives, if you didn't know, as you may recognize him as the narrator from the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer cartoon.
Yes.
Kind of giving it a Christmas movie vibe. I dug that element, and it was very helpful.
It was very like David Attenborough, like
Yeah.
animals in the wild. We're gonna describe what they're doing.
Because otherwise I would
Yeah.
have absolutely no idea what was going on for a lot of it.
Yeah. Because how could you? You've just got an Ewok licking its teeth and staring at little children. Like, the little girl who plays Sindel has nothing to do for the first 40 minutes of the movie other than to sit there with wet eyes crying, just being like, I don't feel good, or my tummy hurts, or I want my mommy. Just devastating. Devastating.
That's one of the main memories I had from watching it 20 years ago, is her just being sick for like 40 minutes of screen time. It felt like
Yeah.
probably only 5 minutes, but everything feels much longer, very stretched out in in the first movie at least.
Caravan of Courage is a lean, like 90 minutes, 96 minutes, somewhere in there, but it feels like a 3-hour movie. It's definitely it's a caravan, that's for sure.
After the first one, what was your reaction?
I said no. Nope on that.
It was
I
sort of-
don't want to watch another one.
And then we
Was
did
that my-
anyway.
was
That
that
was
my
that was your reaction,
reaction?
yeah.
And then we did anyway.
I mean, that was my reaction watching it 20 years ago, so that's why it took me a while. On the subject of teeth, I just wanted to point out Deej, Wicket's father. His teeth are kind of like, they separate from the mask a lot, like they're moving around in there.
Yeah.
Like he blows
Oh.
the horn early on, and the teeth are rattling around. There's just a lot of unsettling facial things going on here.
Also, Deej is the only name only other Ewok name I'm committing to memory from these movies, just because it's like one of the 4 words that they say over and over and
Yeah.
over again. They're like,
Mhm.
Deej. It's like, okay.
And his mom is Shodu, Shodu. So in the first one, they say each other's names a lot. There's not a lot of like Ewok-ese is the language, if you didn't know. From Return of the
Yes,
Jedi.
I asked Evan
Yes.
to put on subtitles, which were useless. And all they said was like, Wicket speaks Ewokese.
Yeah. Story. George Lucas has a story credit on this movie, by the way.
Yeah. That's why. So yeah, it felt very George of like, let's do a movie about Wookiees, Ewoks, just living their lives. He's all about that stuff. So very holiday special coated. But yeah.
Just on the topic of them speaking, pretty quick, and you can attest to this, pretty quick into the first one, Quinn, like during the narration, I wrote down a note here that I said, they're going to have the Ewoks speak English in the second one to get away from the clunky narration, aren't they? Spoiler alert. Yes, they are.
Cursed it. Yeah. Wicket just fully speaks English in the second one, basic in universe.
Yeah.
And then, so we were like, okay, so that brings up a lot of questions, lore wise, canon wise. Where does this take place? They're not reacting to the humans as if they want to eat them like they do in Return of the Jedi, but they're fully speaking basic or English. But so at one point, a producer or a director told the actor who plays Mace Tawani in the first one, I believe his name is Eric Walker, he told him that the movies take place 150 years after Return of the Jedi, after Wicked's first appearance. And then like, okay, that clears that out of the way. But then they're like, well, Wicked's still a kid. So either much like Grogu, they don't age ever, or somebody was wrong. So then later Lucasfilm was like, okay, it takes place a year before Return of the Jedi. But then that brings up, why does he fully speak basic or English? And then somebody else had to explain why. I'm sorry, ladies, this is what most of the show is. But
oh no, this is what we're here for.
and then somebody said, okay, well, actually, even the Sindel and the other humans are not speaking basic. They're speaking another language that for the viewer's benefit has been translated into English. That's their workaround.
That sounds confusing and made up.
That's all of Star Wars.
Okay, riddle me this, Batman. So if it's a year before Return of the Jedi, why isn't there any Imperial activity there? Like, why aren't we seeing them building the bunkers and the sensor arrays? And
they move quick once they have the blueprints, I guess. I don't know, but I did wonder that. Apparently, there's a lot going on Endor, a lot more than we thought. There's like full like witches and wizards castles. There's humans just living their lives on there.
Yeah, it's called the Forest Moon of Endor. However, the forest is just one of a complete set of biomes that they have on that whole planet now. I don't know.
Yeah, the Ewoks never seem to have seen or heard of starships. I don't understand it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
well, nobody on that planet seems to understand what electricity is or like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the second movie, we've got Charl the Witch, who I believe was later retconned into a Night Sister. But
then where'd she? Okay.
She and King Tarek, the leader of the Raiders, the leader of the Marauders, the villains in the second movie, they're looking for the power core to the starship. And they're so confused. They think that's like all power comes from that or something. And and then I read that apparently that species crash landed 100 or so years ago, and then this is like the next generation that doesn't know anything about spaceships or power. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I think they were just dipping their toes in towards more high fantasy kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and we were saying this kind of feels like the bridge between Return of the Jedi and Willow, which Eliza loved Willow growing up
Willow.
as well.
Willow is iconic and 100 times better than both these movies.
They were getting there. Those are the dry run for Willow.
These were the test run. Yeah.
Have you seen Willow? Okay, she's shaking her head no.
I have not seen Willow. No.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I think that's a sore subject with the Disney Plus series not existing anymore.
I was very upset. I also was like very trying hard to write on the second season. As a writer, I was like telling my managers, get me on Willow. Like,
it would have been perfect.
It would have been amazing. You could have just handed them a script of Caravan of Courage, but just changed the names.
Yeah. Willow is one of my favorite movies. My dog growing up was named Willow off of that movie.
Yes. So if nothing else, this kind of set the stage for George Lucas and Lucasfilm to work with Warwick Davis in grassland settings and with castles and things of that nature.
Yeah, this very much felt like watching like this makes sense. Like the second one especially, Battle for Endor, makes a lot of sense as like a fantasy kind of movie that you would just have on VHS and that kids would watch.
Yeah.
Like it just seemed very familiar of like, the creature work. I'm shocked that I didn't actually see it more. Like I'm shocked that I didn't have core memories of this movie, because it's very much just like the next logical step. If you like Star Wars, then we'll just throw this on. You can watch that. But whatever, man. I don't know.
In terms of the creature work, that I wanted to touch on some of the behind the scenes people like Joe Johnston, the production designer, who also worked on the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
John Berg, one of the creature designers, Phil Tippett did the stop motion. So there was a lot of the same talent working on the original trilogy, also working on this. Talent maybe being a strong word for these films, no offense. But there were some great designs, and obviously like the Blurg, we'll get into that, but this is where the Blurg first appeared. It's the two-legged fish creature that Mando rides in season 1 of The Mandalorian, and also appeared in Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff.
And
There's
these
a lot
lurgs
of-
are big, man.
Yeah, they're big and they're scary. They're like the beasts of burden for the Marauders. I believe they're Sanyasan riders. They never say that word in the movies.
No.
But so there's a lot of some okay creature work, like the spider in the first one. Maybe not so much. A big Halloween store spider just kind of drops down.
Yeah, we could see the strings.
Yeah, you could.
Pretty visibly.
and then they cut away to, so Mace and some of the braver Ewoks are going to rescue the parents against the giant Gorax in the first part, and then it will cut back to Sindel, the little girl, hanging out with Wicket and one of his brothers, just kind of doing headstands, and then also fighting a spider, because they were just like, yeah, we're just going to separate them from the actual finale of the movie. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But so if you love the spider the first time, you get to see it twice, so that was pretty fun.
So here's a question. So I know one of the biggest things that like fans of the Alien franchise talk about is how they don't like Alien 3 because it basically starts off by killing off every other character other than Ripley that mattered in the second one. And
Yeah.
like, what was the point of everything? So if I may spoil the premise of the second movie, so the whole first movie is about going to find Mace and Sindel going to find their mom and dad who have been captured by the giant, was it the Gorax or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. It's like reuniting the family. Yay, happy ending. The second movie, within the first 5 minutes, Sindel's entire family, Mace, mom, and dad, are just straight up murdered.
Yeah.
Murdered. And then it's just this little girl left alone with little teddy bears like stuck in the middle of some weird power struggle. It's deeply upsetting. And then it's like, I think 40 minutes in, she's just sitting there with Wilford Brimley, who we haven't talked about yet, and just sitting there. And he's like, are you sad? She's like, yeah, I miss my family. And he's like, yeah, that sucks. And she's like, yeah. And then she cries a bit, and then it's all good.
That's about it.
But
Wicket's family was also abducted by the Raiders, by the Marauders, and they just seem very chill about it. They're just like
yeah,
putzing around the forest 10 minutes later.
They were not gonna go try to save Wicket's family at all until Sindel got captured. And then once Sindel was captured, they were like, oh, well then I guess we'll save her and the rest of the Ewoks too. But before that, they were not concerned
no.
at all.
Fully unbothered.
Wicket at one point said, we have to go get my family, right? And Sindel's like, but we don't know where they are. And then our next scene was Papa Santa Claus coming home and like saying, where are the kids? And I thought that was going to be cut to, oh, like they left, but they were actually there.
Yeah.
Didn't that happen? Didn't Wicket say we need to go find my family?
I think he had the thought for a second. He's like, oh
Is
yeah, we
that
should
it?
do that at some point, maybe.
Yeah.
It wasn't. There was no urgency whatsoever.
No, God, no. They're just like, oh, yeah. I think Sindel says, hey, Wicket, well, let's clean up this house and it can be our house. We can live here now.
Yeah.
This is all
Or
we
like-
need.
Let's bake a pie. Like we
Yeah.
have time.
Yeah.
Like, no one's getting hurt or captured. We
Yeah.
have time to make pies.
Yeah. Also, her little bracelet, like the little finder thing, that's so cruel that she has that on and then the lights blink out when each one of her family members dies. And it's like, dude.
It's just a bracelet to show whether your family is still alive or not, which is insane.
Yeah, I guess that's helpful, but
Yeah.
it's not in this movie when they die in the first 5 minutes.
So I did ask Eliza after the first movie, I was like, what's your pitch for the second movie? And your idea was
my idea straight up was I think everyone dies because they weren't good actors and they need new actors and the story wasn't good. Did I say that Sindel probably is the only one?
I don't know if you spared Sindel and
I don't know if I spared her, but I basically was like, yeah, everyone dies and they're on a new adventure doing something else. And
Right.
that's kind of what happened.
Spoiler
Yeah.
alert for the Mamma Mia saga, but very similar to the mother dying off screen in between Mamma Mia 1 and 2, despite being the central figure of the first film. Spoiler alert.
Having not seen Mamma Mia 2 and 3, shocker, I thought you were going to say that the main
sorry,
cast
3
of Mamma Mia 2 is murdered in a massacre in the second movie, the first 5 minutes, but they're not.
None of us have seen Mamma Mia 3.
No one has seen Mamma Mia 3, just to clarify. It has not come out yet.
Let's get into existence.
I was about to say, I didn't realize there was one.
No, not yet, not yet.
Not yet. There will
Okay.
be, I'm sure.
But so yeah, so as to the deaths, because yeah, the mother is at the beginning of the second movie. The mother of the Ewok movie is not Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia talk is done for now, sadly. The mom is just fully face down in a bush. Like, I don't know if it was the same actress. She was like, I'm not going to even bother to show back up for this. And then Mace, who was ostensibly the star or one of the stars of the first film, is in literally one shot setup. He doesn't move. He's already just kneeling down, about to shoot his blaster. And then it cuts away, and just the whole little area of the forest is just exploded. It's just it just pulls up. He's just gone.
He drags mom's carcass into a hut, and then we see a shot of a cannon, and then they do the thing where they do the whip shot over to the explosion.
So two shot setups. He
yeah,
double the amount of work I thought he got. And then the father gets to give a tearful speech.
Recast father, by the way, right?
I think it was the same.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. On the poster that they have on the Disney Plus version of this, it's got a guy who looks like Action Star Man, which he's not in the movie. I think it's supposed to be the father. Like, I don't know who else. It couldn't be Wilford Brimley.
Someone said that the art, what I was reading is that it looks like the outfit that Wilford Brimley is supposed to be wearing later in the movie, and that it was an earlier draft of the movie where Wilford Brimley or Noah is a younger action hero kind of guy.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe they did the poster before they got the full.
I will
Honestly,
say
that tracks.
It's very interesting that they decided, because this is clearly supposed to be a children's film. Film for kids. You're right, questionable. Because it's very interesting that they killed everyone on screen. Like, why not just say everyone died, like, in between the two movies? Like, why do they want kids or families to watch literal, like, murder on camera?
Like,
crazy choice.
Why not capture them? Like,
yeah, bring him back.
Sindul's face needs a reason to be wet again. We need to see her crying more at the start of this film. She needs a reason to be wet in the face. There you go.
Perfect. I did read that apparently George Lucas wanted the second one to be like Heidi, which I've never seen. Maybe you guys have seen it, but I guess it's like about a young girl and an old man on a mountain or something.
I have seen it, but I forget. But yes, I do have core memories of watching that movie.
So I think he was like, I don't want to make another family movie, even though the entire first movie is about rescuing the parents and reuniting the family unit. Totally bizarre.
You say old man.
Yes.
It's Wilford Brimley, the diabetes guy. Like,
yes.
let me just say this. So Wilford Brimley was 51 when this movie came out.
Whoa.
So he's 51. If my math is correct. Yes, 51.
Okay.
You know who else is 51 right now with the Star Wars kid-friendly show coming out? Jude Law.
Wow.
Now, one, look at a picture of 51-year-old Wilford Brimley next to 51-year-old Jude Law, and dang, poor Wilford Brimley. But here's my theory, calling it now, Jod in Skeleton Crew is actually the new canon's Noah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I would love that. Or he could be his friend that died some time
Salak?
ago. Salak.
That'd be
Salak.
cool. That would be really cool.
Who made Wilford Brimley depressed. Noah. His name is Noah. Noah Brickwalon or something.
Yeah, and which also the Night Sister, I guess I'll just call her that, even though I don't buy that for a second. So she points and she's like, hey, little girl, see that skeleton over there? Yeah, that's the guy that your buddy's all sad about. He's a dead skeleton now. And then Noah's in that room later.
Yeah. And
doesn't even acknowledge.
Yes, he does.
Does he?
Yes, he does. Before they leave the dungeon, he looks over at him and Sindul's straight up like, I'm so sorry, your friend is dead. Yes, he knows. He's like, oh, it's okay. Yeah.
Wow. Blink and you miss it, I guess. I was busy writing down notes about how hot Jude Law was before. I guess I missed that.
Yep, before he goes out the hole, he looks solemnly over at what looks like a very oversized skeleton chained to the wall and looks sad, and Sindul's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like perfectly white, perfectly pristine.
I thought King Tarak like he was supposed to be kind of a giant, because in the beginning when he's like lifting up the dad and it's like, oh, this guy's like 8.5 feet tall, but he's not.
He's played by Carol I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Carol Stryken. You may know him from the Addams Family films as Lurch a few years after this.
Oh.
Okay.
Or you may know him from Twin Peaks. He got a lot of work, especially in the 90s, as a very large man, one that I aspire to be much like. So yeah, he doesn't look to be very tall the rest of the movie, but I guess he is. He just kind of chills on the throne while his guys are doing other stuff, looking for car batteries so he can rule the universe or something.
Yeah, but what do they do? They just sit around drinking and fighting.
Yeah, and hoping that they can get off world to go somewhere or just to have power. I don't
Well, what are they
understand
going to
it.
do with the power? And what are they going to do if they
Not
get
really.
off the like what?
Yeah,
Well,
there was no backstory. Like
Fine-
that was the
Fi-
issue.
Finding the power is step one. Everything else is we'll deal with after we get the power, but we just got to get that power first. I will say, first of all, we need to wrap Eliza soon, if that's okay. But I'll
Yeah,
just say
for
that.
sure.
But overall, the first movie is so slow and dare I say excruciating to get through. Despite the goal of having to rescue the parents, there is like no forward momentum of the story. There's just things kind of randomly happen. The second one, at least, it held my interest the entire time more than the first one did. I would say that
Yes.
maybe it was
Yes.
such a low bar to clear after the first one. But so I did give them props for at least kind of tweaking things that maybe didn't work about the
Yeah.
first one. And I got to say, we'll talk about it more when we do our one-on-one episode here shortly. But favorite character, best character. Oh, I got one per movie real quick, actually. I got to give props to Chukatrok, the woodsman from the first one, who is just cool as hell. And if he was around when the Empire was around, he would have just thrown his axe and single-handedly blown up the Death Star.
Yeah. Yeah.
A man's man and Ewok's Ewok. And then second movie, though, outshined by my man Teak. You know I was going to love Teak.
Teak.
Yes. Yes.
Those
Kinda
tiny little
horrifying.
articulate fingers.
Oh,
The
God.
the fingers, I will have nightmares for the rest of my life.
One of my favorite bits with the fingers is when he was trying to explain that he was giving them food. So like some of his fingers actually went in his mouth when he did like the sign language. He's like, oh yeah, food. He's like, oh God, get them out of there. Get them out of
I
there.
don't know. I don't want to know where those fingers have been, Teak.
Yeah.
But he has a little doggy door. I just love him. He moves fast, where they just speed up the film, and he just moves fast. And
Yep.
he's a little Roger Rabbit, Bugs Bunny kind of guy.
He
I
can
feel like-
smile. It's cute.
Yeah,
I feel like the fairies, I don't know what they're
I
called.
think Wisties.
The Wisties in the
Mm.
first movie, they were like, let's do something like that. Fast moving, small, fun
Yeah.
guys. And then they were
Yeah.
like, Teak. So I don't think like there was much like imagination. I mean, I guess there was, but it was
It's
just
brimming
like,
with imagination.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is, but it's just like a little bit of a jump from the Wispies, I think. Did
They,
I say them right?
I think it's Wisties. I'm not even 100% sure on that.
Wisties.
In Battlefront 2, when you play as an Ewok, you can throw a pouch of Wisties at the Stormtroopers and confuse them, much as they confused the Gorax, who fell down into a hole twice.
Twice.
After coming back up Ben Solo style, yeah.
Yeah. Somehow the Gorax returned. Oh man. Well, Eliza, I know we gotta wrap up with you, but do you have some final thoughts on this movie? You know, what stood out to you? Like, what did you like? What bewildered you? And ultimately, would you recommend these?
Oh my God, that's so many questions.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. Everything bewildered me. Everything was confusing and didn't make sense. Like what stuck with me, like in the first movie, I'm also like a lore head and like I love like the reasoning behind things, and it made no sense. The parents are like, where are you, children? Like, we don't know where you are. And then literally Cindel's like hiding in the starship.
She's just in the ship.
She's just in
Yeah.
the ship. Like, did they miss her? Did she come back? Like make it clear, make it make sense. Things like that bothered me. The first movie was just excruciating to get through, I would say. The second one was a big improvement. Like, again, like John said, held my interest. There was more plot and things going on. So I definitely enjoyed it a little bit better, but I have to say no, I would not recommend these movies. Ultimately, they are not good. And I I mean, I'm not a parent yet, but I feel like I would be scared to show this to my children because I think not because of the plot. I mean, some of the murder stuff is obviously problematic for kids, but like I think just like stylistically it's a little scary. Like I don't think I don't think I would recommend parents to show this to anyone under 10.
I wouldn't recommend parents show it to anyone over 10 either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Any age,
it's-
really.
Yeah, any age. Like still like I will have nightmares from this continuously. So it like I'm glad we watched it and we know, and like especially like going into Skeleton Crew, like I am curious like
Wait, do you guys want to know what the connection is? told her.
I accidentally found the connection.
Spoiler alert, for anyone that doesn't want to know, skip ahead. Teak is in Skeleton Crew. I am so stoked for this. I'm sure it's going to be he'll be a background guy in like one shot or something. But
Just like zipping through the background of something.
yeah, I need him to zip through. I need him to see his little doggy door again. So I guess Teak is both his name and his species. So he is a Teak. So maybe it will be a different Teak. Maybe it will be what happens after Noah abandons him at the end of the second Ewok movie. But we'll find out soon. And we got more Teak content inbound, which is the silver lining here.
What you're
Yeah,
saying
so-
is, yeah, we're gonna get the Mandalorian and Grogu and Teak is gonna be the
Yes.
next movie.
yeah. Teak is gonna
I
be
hope-
the next big thing. So I think like that's like fun as a Star Wars fan to like know the background of things going into Skeleton Crew. And it was cool to see the sorry, what is Mando ride again?
The blurg.
The blurg. Like that was cool. But other than that, no. That's 2 thumbs down for me, recommendation wise.
How about you, Quinn?
I wouldn't know who to recommend it to
Okay, there we go.
because I do think it's a movie of our time. Like, it feels really reminiscent of other movies we watched as kids. Like, this imagery is scary, that back painting, lack of story, some adult concepts. So I think it's a really good snapshot of our childhoods. But also I wouldn't know who to show it to. So
Everyone
And
that
then-
would be vaguely interested is on this call right now. So
Yeah.
Which then leads to the final question that I have for both Eliza and Q. Do you still love us after this?
Yes.
it took a while.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. But I will say I will never get that 3 hours back.
Yeah.
So there are some regrets there.
my level of love for you has gone absolutely nowhere, but something has changed. Something is different. I still love you, but
Okay.
something's different now.
That's fair. That's
Yeah. Well said, Quinn.
fair. All right. Well, Eliza, Quinn, thank you so much for joining us on this little Ewok adventure. Have you? It was a blast. Thanks for sitting here and doing this show with us as well. And also, Eliza, congratulations to you and John for getting hitched.
Thank you.
I had to wait until after our marriage to watch the Ewok movies. I had to lock her down before doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I maybe would not be here. No, I'm kidding.
There's still time. There's still time for you, Quinn. You can run.
No, it was fun. I know I've been a negative Nancy, but it was ultimately fun and weird to watch.
And that's the name of the game when it comes to Star Wars. It's fun and it's weird.
Thanks for letting us be in your space, you two. This was fun.
Thanks for coming in. We got a little taste of the nerdiness there, but we're gonna go full bore here with talking about, does anything from this duology exist in the 3.75-inch figure line, even in the vintage collection? Maybe. The answer is yes, of course.
Boy, howdy, they do.
So obviously we've gotten Wicket a number of times. We got him in the vintage collection as VC27 from 2010, repacked in 2020. We got him right here for the occasion. The TVC figure also has some additional swappable details from the animated series, but hey, Wicket is Wicket. He has a satchel at some point during these 2 movies, which kind of looks like the satchel that he has on this figure, which I believe is sourced from the animated series, but whatever.
I honestly, I'm saying this without irony right now. Having these movies fresh on my mind, this would have been akin to Life Day Chewie if Disney had offered a Caravan of Courage or Battle for Endor or Ewok Adventure, TVC carded Wicket,
Yeah.
just on a card for those movies. I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
have been all about that.
Yes, they still could. I mean, we got the animated one last year, so it's not not outside the realm of possibility. I've been toying with whether or not I want to do a grid on my Instagram page for figures from these movies.
You do.
I'm struggling to come up
promise
with
you.
9 that I would even want. So,
buddy, I'll help you. We can do
all right,
this.
thank you. So stay tuned for those, I guess. But yeah, so we also have Low Gray, the Ewok medicine man, which is kind of strange. Well, we got him as VC55 in 2011. Has sort of been a long-standing rumor for a repack, but never actually repacked in TVC 2.0 as of yet. He has white and brown stripes in Return of the Jedi, but black and gray in Caravan of Courage, so they can do a repaint. I think some of the details of the mask are a little different. He has that cool sort of Wicked Witch of the West thing where he like looks the spinning top where he sees Sindel and Mace's parents, who are named Jeremit and Catarine or something.
Sounds right. I just watched it yesterday.
Close enough.
Couldn't tell you.
But where he kind of looks upon them. So maybe they could do some, another fun repaint they could do as a 2-pack.
Which, sorry, just to kind of talk about the movie again.
Yes.
When he was spinning that little top, and I don't understand the technology there, and there is no technology. It's magic. It's just straight up magic. And we also see that with, what'd you say, the Night Sister? I'll quote heavy air quotes around Night Sister.
Yeah, Charal, Charal. Yeah.
Okay, I kept thinking like Beyond Thunderdome, Tina Turner, like wannabe, but this was before that movie, right? I don't know.
Maybe I'm sure it inspired that movie.
Yeah. George Miller was sitting there like, oh, I love this. No, but I wanted to talk about this, and I'm bummed that I forgot to mention it when we had her with us. Quinn asked me while we were watching, she was like, have we ever seen an Ewok Jedi in anything? And then I was like, oh, because I was also wondering too, like, okay, so Ewoks have magic, and we've established that magic in the Star Wars universe is just another shade of the Force.
Yes.
That it's all tying into the same thing, tapping into the same thread, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, so I was going to say, people that got very upset about the witches on Brindok calling the Force the thread, seeing the Force in a different way would have been very upset by these movies, I think. So
these movies broke the lore and disrespected the lore in ways that I don't think people today could even imagine.
We can't recover from that. I was terrified when Mace, he like touched a river or a little pond, and he just like fully is transported underneath,
and then they can't touch it.
They can't touch it because everything gets like brought into the pond or whatever, and he was like under it, almost like a frozen lake sort of deal. But
for like 10 minutes.
Scary. Yeah, they're like, oh crap, let's go figure that out. But thankfully, Wicket had a magic stick, a walking stick.
Yeah,
he was able to grab onto. I think that was everybody got a little magic item that they were able to use later. Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild.
So there was a plot. There was a setup and payoff at some point.
I was going to say, calling that movie the Ewok Adventure, it's really, the word adventure is really generous.
The courage of the caravan is the courage that the viewing audience needs to power through all 90 minutes of that movie.
The Fellowship of the Magic Stick.
Yeah. So I mentioned that the second one is kind of Heidi. I did pick up a lot of Lord of the Rings, Tolkien vibes from this, but also...
I mean, there was a ring in the second one.
That's true. Which, okay. So also, I had a great joke about the lady, Charal, is stuck as a raven forevermore. Ha ha ha. Because I don't understand her magic. Like, it's based entirely around a ring, and then they take the ring from her, so she can't transform. She can only use it all she really does is transform into a raven and back, but she can only transform back if she had the ring on her when she turned into a raven. Then someone takes the ring from her as she transforms into the raven, and then she's just kind of stuck like that, I guess.
But then if you hit the ring, it kills whoever's got it. Like,
yeah. And then, when Tarek tried to use it, he just like got charred to a crisp.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
No, did he try to use it? Like, Wicket hit it with a rock and it cracked it, and then the power killed him.
I don't know.
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
I'd say I got to rewatch for the details, but I don't, and I won't.
No.
But,
no.
A lot of scary magic stuff going on. Yes. So.
Yeah. Sorry to derail. You were on Low Gray.
No. I wanted to talk about it for sure. Yeah. But okay. So Whittle Warwick is Wicked's brother with the orange fur and the white cheeks, who is in Return of the Jedi. There was a lot of costume reuse in the Ewok movies, which we'll be getting to, but the costume, now we're saying Whittle Warwick is one of the Ewoks who hijacks the AT-ST with Chewbacca, who was released in the Ewok Scouts 2-pack and Vintage Collection as a Kmart exclusive, TVC 1.0, alongside his co-conspirator, Wonka. They did a previous version in the Target Battle for Endor, not this Battle for Endor, gift set around Black Friday, years and years, 2007, I want to say, where they had they just repainted Wicket with white and orange fur as, I think they called him Wicket, but he was Whittle. So you got a couple of Whittle options, let's just say. As for his other brother in these movies, Weechee Warwick, looks to me to be the same costume as Ramba from Return of the Jedi. And Ramba was released with another Ewok, Grok, who actually looks more like the low gray costume in this movie, in the 30th anniversary collection in 2007, but is one of the Ewoks that is still needed in the vintage collection to hashtag finish the 96, along with Warrock and Chief Chirpa. So there's 3 Ewoks we still need in vintage collection to finish the 96, and many more from Return of the Jedi and these films as well. Another one that we have is Stimsy, the brown Ewok with a white diamond on his right eye, who was in the Ewok Assault Catapult set, another great Kmart exclusive. They were doing so many indoor exclusives back in the day. I noticed he kind of showed up in one of these movies for a brief moment. As I said, they just kind of pulled out all the old costumes from the storage closet.
Was he on a catapult in the second one?
He was near a catapult, so they started using the Marauders technology against them.
Yeah.
So maybe that's how they started to. I will say, okay, another thing about these movies, they kind of explain why the Ewoks have all the technology to defeat giant AT-STs. Okay, you can say that was how they defended themselves against the Gorax.
Yeah.
Or how they were able to use a few different things, or how they use the hang gliders in their normal day-to-day business. Because at the beginning of the second one, Sindel gets taken away by it almost looks like a Shriek Hawk from Mando season 3. And then Wicket's like, oh my God. And then he jumps on his hang glider, which he was prepping for no other reason, I guess.
Well, to get them out of there. Remember, they were stuck in the cave.
Okay, yeah. But then he like has to drop rocks on the creature's back. And then Sindel just fully drops, is just in a full free fall. And then he's like, oh, hold on, Sindel. And he goes and saves her.
Does a Superman the movie save.
Yep.
I wrote down in my notes too, though, about the Ewoks is they are good at just straight up improvising war.
Yeah.
Like for
yeah.
a society that actually doesn't really seem to have need or knowledge of war, they just pick up and they're like, yeah, dude, we got these things that'll smash big stuff. We know how to launch projectiles. We're really good with guns that we've never held before. Like, let's do this.
There's a lot of blaster use. There's only one Ewok who uses a blaster in Return of the Jedi briefly. You kind of see him celebrating with it. And then they're all over the place in this. They're like, oh yeah, if we just use straight up guns, we'll probably win.
Yeah.
But another character that we do have in 3.75 inches is Kank, the magical priestess that they meet on the journey in the first film. Because she was also seen in the original Star Tours safety video wearing just a hood and not the full smock from Caravan of Courage. There's 2 other Ewoks with her. And she was released as part of the Disney Parks exclusive Star Tours boarding party set in 2010, alongside a Chewie repack, a Star Tours officer, which was just an Imperial officer painted in orange and blue, Reese with a 3-lensed camera, and of course, my main man, Teek. So there is a figure of Teek, and I'm very excited having seen him that now I don't have to want the figure because I've already got the figure. Do you have this set?
No, of course I don't. Now I'm mad. I want that figure. Teek was a standout, man. Like he's a way better Flash than Ezra Miller. Sorry for the hack joke, dude. Yeah. Also, now we've got precedents for the force speed that we see Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon use in Phantom Menace once and only. But maybe they're just tapping into the Teek force. I don't know.
Yes, he ran through and told them how to do it real quick. And then they're like, wait a minute, we're going to remember this only once.
Yeah, just once.
But so like Teek and Kank and some of the other characters that appear in Star Tours boarding video have been made as various Disney Parks plushes and miniatures. There's a lot of Ewok plushes. I think they did some new ones this year, a new one of Teek this year. But another big one we touched on earlier, another big one that joined Vintage Collection very recently is the Blurg.
Yeah.
So, we said before, some people were waiting 5 years for the Blurg after Mando season 1. Some are waiting a decade after Rebels or 15 years after the Clone Wars. Some are waiting nearly 40 years after the Battle for Endor. And it is finally here, and it is glorious.
Yeah.
And I guess
And
you can set it up with the Marauders if you want to.
I need to get that Teak figure, and now I need to
Yeah.
set him up with the weird scene of him for whatever reason setting the Blurg's feet on fire so that they ran away.
It worked.
Yeah, it did. And then the Marauders were like, "Oh, our Blurgs are gone," and then they
What a
died.
rapscallion. Yeah.
What? Okay.
I did like, because in these movies, the Blurgs are stop motion. I'm looking at my vintage collection of Blurgs right now. What lucky timing on our part to watch these Ewok movies now. But they were stop motion. It was fun seeing like anytime a Marauder would interact with them, they would also be stop motion, either on riding the Blurg or like kind of wrangling the Blurg. It was fun. The effects weren't quite as strong as they were in the original trilogy, but it was still fun to see.
I'd hazard a guess and say the budget was maybe a little small compared
little lower.
to
I guess the reason George wanted to keep doing more and more Ewok movies, but I guess the budget got a little out of control. I forgot to mention.
Why would George want to do that? Because Star Wars is supposed to be grimdark serious totally for adults and only
serious.
Adults.
Yes. And if we bring George back, it will be totally serious and not at all whimsical and wacky and fun.
Yeah, they've never made anything that was just odd and goofball for kids.
No, not at all.
Huh.
That George totally got obsessed with for years on end and was like, Star Wars is only Ewoks now.
Yeah.
But
oh man.
Do you want anything else in Vintage Collection from these movies, knowing that it's a long shot?
Listen, this is going to sound stupid, but yes, I do. I know that's a hot take. I don't know. I don't want it at the expense of anything. I don't want them to waste any money on anything from this. However, dude, I would love a Teak repack. They don't need to spend money on that, but I would love another opportunity to get Teak. And I really want Wilford Brimley. I know that's old overweight dude, but you know, when we work together, nothing can beat us.
Oh my God.
But
he had 3 different outfits to choose from. He had a dope duel against King Tarek using his walking stick with an owl carved into it.
Yeah, and his walking stick had to have been strong because we saw Tarek's sword cut through trees, but it couldn't cut through the walking stick.
Yeah.
I headcanoned it the whole time that because he was on a ship and he didn't remember when he landed there and he didn't know what he was doing. I was like, is Noah an old Jedi, like a High Republic or an old Jedi way seeker that got stranded on a forest moon somewhere in the edges of the galaxy? Again, whenever these movies are supposed to take place. And so I was like, I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I was hoping against hope he was going to whip out a lightsaber. But yeah, that's why I'm also sitting there just like, ooh, is Jod gonna be like a Noah character? I don't know, man, but it was so stupid. It was so stupid, and yet I had a lot of fun.
Yes, he also I loved his gear up scene.
Yeah,
there was like close-ups of him like snapping his little clips, putting the gun in the holster and stuff like that. I love when he throws the walking stick into the little hole he's got outside his house.
Yeah.
It's like chunk, that guy in there.
And you know what I loved? When he's got Wicket on his shoulders and Teak underneath and they're in that giant robe sneaking through. And I was like, okay, so that's where Obi-Wan got the idea. Like there were so many things in these movies that I thought, oh, it's funny to kind of see these things done differently in more modern, like contemporary media.
And because this was the first, so these were TV movies in most places. They aired on ABC back in the 80s. I guess they also got a theatrical release in Germany, I want to say. I forgot to look that up. But in like one country in Europe. So people would jump down your throats if you said there was only such and such number of theatrical Star Wars movies. Oh, no, there's 2 of the Ewok movies. It's like, okay, they were TV movies. They're made for TV. If somebody put them in the theater, that's their own prerogative. But so this was the first like Star Wars on TV after the holiday special.
Yeah.
And seeing how some people have taken stuff. I guess Dave Filoni must have loved blurgs. He keeps putting them in all the shows. I'm surprised that maybe Ahsoka season 2 will get more blurgs. I don't know.
Yeah. Are they native to Endor? Because like how are they? I forget.
And I think because like the Marauders were not. So later people like Pablo Hidalgo and Leland Chi would try to make sense of some of this stuff.
You can't.
And, like, Pablo.
You can't.
He wrote like, so 4 years before the outbreak of the Clone Wars, Noah and Salak were just young guys just trying to. I forget what exactly their goal was, but there was an article on the Holonet News of like Salak's dad calling off the search after a few years after he like ran out of money. So they were just poor. And then like, why do so many people keep crashing on Endor?
Yeah.
I guess there was some nebula or something around there.
Yeah. And if there was all these other people, places, and things, like why was there no other help when the Empire was there? And for the rebels, or why was there not more opposition? Why wasn't why weren't the Imperials trying to like recruit some of these factions? I don't know.
I want to say about the crashing also in Rise of Skywalker, of course, on Kef Bir near this moon of Endor. They also crashed, right? The Star Destroyer went down or something. So I guess there's a lot of the same storytelling is somehow finding its way throughout.
And they crashed the Falcon on it. Like,
yes, that's true. Everybody's just crashing over there.
Is landing illegal in the Endor system?
They seem to have no problem with it in Return of the Jedi itself, but after
I don't know.
They did.
But do you want anything from these movies, John? I'm sorry to totally.
No. There's a lot to go over with these, but short answer, no. Long answer, no. Not really. But I was thinking Mace can probably be made from the pilot body, especially the modified Callahan boots that are coming out.
Yeah.
They could reuse the legs and maybe the upper arms or something. He's got a lot of pilot Luke vibes with the orange jumpsuit and the white vest. Also sort of Ezra vibes, some of the similar coloring.
I thought he kind of looked a little Lukey.
He did.
Like young Mark Hamill.
The actor looks a lot like Mark Hamill. I don't know if that was on purpose, if that was running through the casting director's head.
Yeah.
Or it seems strange.
Yeah, but don't worry, they kill him off in the first minute and a half of the second one.
And so the name Mace, this is not where the name Mace Windu comes from, because Mace Windy was in the original drafts of Star Wars. So, George is always taking older ideas. Mace was plucked for here and for the prequels. Anyway, you said it could have been a great 2-pack with Sindel at some point.
Yeah, if we'd ever gotten a little Leia figure, that would have been a super easy, just pop a new head on that. They don't have to get super accurate with it. Like a soft goods poncho.
In the first movie, she's got like a puffy purple vest, very 80s style. And in the second one, she's like a more Ewok style poncho, which is, I love a good Star Wars poncho. So they reused a lot of props from this. I thought I saw FX7 in
I saw a
Noah's.
clue horn.
Yeah. And they play, they actually use it as a horn at one point, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The Marauders use it at their castle when it's their battle horn.
I wondered if, I clocked that as well. They, the blasters or the cannons that they use on Noah's ship are the cannons from the sail barge. And there's also a Jabba's palace, the little eel thing, I guess. Canon says it's an Abyssin, like Mayo from the Cantina, but it's the little one-eyed guys that are on the front of his dais. There was one in the Marauder's Palace. Okay. But that's all to say, the Marauders also reused at least the vest from Vizam, the Nikto guy who uses that blaster we just talked about.
Yeah.
So they used, I was looking for other costume parts from the sail barge and skiff guards, because they're very similar. So if they wanted to, I don't know if they want to, but they could reuse the vest from Vizam to make a one of the Marauders, who also had a lot of similar vibes. I was thinking of the Klatooinian Raider figure from Mando Season 1. So Hasbro could maybe do a kit bash if they really wanted to. I don't think they want to. I think the time for these movies has probably come and gone, but I'm dreaming over here,
Well, this was only the 40th anniversary of Caravan of Courage. Next year, though, is the 40th of Battle for Endor, so they could celebrate the whole era as they like to do.
They will, yeah. So we were so close. Chukka-Truk was maybe sort of planned, if I'm remembering this right, to be part of the 2012 Ewok pack from Toys R Us, where they had 5 great Ewoks, including Nisa from the animated series. But at some point, as I mentioned, somebody thought the Ewok movies took place 150 years after Return of the Jedi, which makes 0 sense. So he was unfortunately not included in that set. We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close. Because I would love, if they do any, I would love a Chukka-Truk figure. Like I said, glad we already have Teak. Yeah. A repack would be nice. Teak at least has ball joint shoulders, and he has articulating wrists. I can't remember if he has ankles. He might. but he was modern for 2010. So
Which, as we all know,
a lot of
means
TVC
it's still
is
modern. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got a lot of figures that are just super, super cutting edge, asterisk for 2010. Chukatruck is the warrior, right? He's the only one that dies.
Yeah, he's the woodsman guy, and he kind
Yeah.
of he sacrifices himself to kill the Gorax, and they have a little tearful moment where he sacrificed himself to save all of us.
Yeah. It's a delightful. A lot of tears in these movies.
Yes.
I remembered what I was going to say. You'd mentioned Mandalorian season 1 with the Klaatuinian Raider. I also was getting this vibe from the Marauders, and to the point where multiple times throughout both movies, mainly the second one, I was thinking, oh, this feels a lot like the Sorgan episode of season 1. And obviously, it's like obviously Dave is watching, like, he's pulling a lot of inspiration. A lot of this stuff really is hard coded into his Star Wars DNA. I totally get it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. The wacky stuff is still fun.
Yes, and because the Klaatuinian Raider figure, not totally accurate to the show, but they use the Weequay body and just put some stuff all over him. They have like similar sort of silver plating. I don't know what that's from in their armor, but so they could reuse some of that if they want to. I wanted to say a few random thoughts before we sign off. The Gorax,
yes, please.
The Gorax hair totally looks like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. The white and blue of the parents' ship in the first movie reminds me of sort of the mid-'80s Star Wars, like the Star Tours, Starspeeder 3000, as well as now the New Republic E-Wing. A lot of the New Republic stuff has white and blue, kind of the post-Return of the Jedi, both in the real world and in the story of Star Wars. I like that they're kind of carrying that along, whether that's intentional or not. And I wanted to say something else that was thrilling, I'm sure. But I saw that the director also said the first one is kind of based on Goldilocks. He was like, we're not trying to make a Star Wars movie. We're trying to make like a modern version of Goldilocks. And then in the second movie, they make porridge, or Noah thinks they made porridge. So if that wasn't obvious from the first one, there you go. So the Teddy Bear's Picnic has never been more epic as it was in these films.
And, also to kind of piggyback on other things that we have, or that are items that are available at the 3 3/4 inch scale, maybe not Star Wars branded, but go to any store that sells, like little toys of just horses, goats, llamas, chickens, birds. They just straight up exist. It's just straight up ponies.
And they're called horses too. Yeah. She's like, oh, that's a horse. That's not a Star Cruiser. That's a horse.
Yeah.
They're not even
so you can go find those somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head the company that makes those.
There's like Schleich or something.
Something like that. I don't know.
I'm sure many people have made horse figures over the years. The Indiana Jones line from 2008, you can get some horses in that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man. There's so much. Also, glasses, a dude wearing glasses. Everybody's talking about what's his face from Dr. Pershing in Mandalorian. It's like, he wore glasses. Yeah. Glasses are canon now. It's like, they always have been. Wilford Brimley couldn't be bothered to take his glasses off. Love it.
One of the fathers in Skeleton Crew also wears glasses. And so get ready for that discourse to start all over again.
Next, they're going to put bricks and screws in some kind of Star Wars thing. Come on, man.
I mean, the Tatooine slaves in Mos Espa can afford braces. So somehow it all works out. I was going to say, I would love to see more Teak content. We're on the verge of more Teak content. I would love to see Teak. I would love to see Teak and Basil hanging out at some point. I was picking up some very similar rodent vibes on those guys.
Absolutely.
I bet they'd be buddies.
I want to see Teak become part of Pelimato's crew. I want to see him running around Tatooine.
It'd be very helpful to get little different wrenches and stuff that she needs.
Yeah. He'd go rob from the Jawas and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so fun.
Perfect.
Anyway.
Now I never want to think about the Ewok movies again.
I was going to say any closing thoughts, but there it is. We're closing the thoughts.
I'm intentionally shutting it down. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a blast, man. I honestly... Yes, Caravan of Courage is, to borrow a joke from, what is it, the Weekly Planet podcast, it was a true caravan of garbage. Hated it. It is a dreadful slog. It is just junk up and down, top to bottom trash. The second one, Battle for Endor, even though that's not a high bar to clear, was much better. Yeah. And I actually enjoyed watching it. I had fun watching it.
I was like, am I kind of digging this? I kind of was into it.
Yeah, they had me at Blurgs. They had me at Family Massacre and then Blurgs, and I was in. It's like I know we asked Eliza and Quinn about recommending these movies. John, would you recommend these movies to anybody?
Uh, I don't think so. I don't know. It's fun for me to explore different corners of Star Wars, the weird, the wacky. Not everything has to be epic and serious.
Yeah.
I love all the different flavors of Star Wars. Maybe they're not as successful or entertaining as others, but just to check it out. Yeah, I do like that. The creature design is something I could recommend. I think the matte paintings were fun.
Yes.
Because it kind of, they're clearly just walking around. It looks like they're just walking around Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah, I
a
was
lot
like,
of it,
what?
but
Where is this?
they're just walking around NorCal. But they did some good work. There's some solid 80s filmmaking at play throughout,
Yeah.
knowing that it's not going to be quite at the level of the actual Star Wars movies, but if you're in for a chill, some chill Star Wars Ewok vibes, you could do. I mean, there's not many options, but
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of options. You got 3 whole movies
True.
with Ewoks and 2 seasons of an animated series.
Yeah.
And I guess I can't be too mad about Ewoks speaking English because back in 2018, I was reading Last Shot, that new canon novel, and there's an Ewok that shows up that's not only speaking English but is a straight up technician, has learned technology and computers. I think it's their hacker, their code breaker or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'd be a hypocrite if I was like, oh, how dare they have them talking?
Yeah.
But
oh, and back to the earlier question, I don't think there's been an Ewok Jedi because I think they are so separate. But it is interesting seeing, the magic and how, you could say how the Force manifests itself to this culture. That's another fun thing about it. But yeah,
closest we've gotten is Nubs, but he's a Poobah, not an Ewok.
Yes.
So
that's why they had to skirt around it a little bit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, well, thanks for doing that with I was going to say with me, but it was a collective thing. All 4 of us went through that. That was fun to text you like, oh, we're just about to watch that. All right, John, what just happened? So
still not entirely sure, but thank you everybody for listening along with us. And would you even recommend it to the listeners to follow along?
You know what? I would recommend it to our listeners because I assume if you're listening to this show, you're the kind of person that would have the kind of mental fortitude to get deep in the weeds with Star Wars and to explore these curiosities or corners of the universe, as you said, John. I don't think I'd recommend it to if you're looking for a good time, watch these movies. It's more just if you like to explore the real world canon of Star Wars and kind of see the genetics of it as it evolves over its almost 50-year history.
Yep.
This is a really interesting snapshot, and Quinn touched on it too, where it very much encapsulates that moment in time. You literally have a bit where Wilford Brimley almost looks into the camera and is in so many words is only you can prevent forest fires. Yeah. It's silly, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not one of those people that I believe Star Wars is for everybody, and I don't believe that there's a necessarily wrong way to do it. But this is pretty close to the wrong way to do it. But
yeah.
But there's some value here, and I'm not going to poo-poo anybody's, if someone grew up on these movies and they're like, I loved this, dude, awesome. Heck yeah. I'm all here for it.
If I'd seen it at a much younger age, I might have, fond memories of it and stuff. Like I said, I think I watched it when I was 13, maybe 14, and I was, not that I was, I'm never too old for this. Maybe I should be, but
yeah.
It was just not what I was searching for in my Star Wars entertainment diet. It still is not, having watched it 2 days ago. I will say one last thing is that the castle stuff, the sort of swords and sandals kind of stuff, reminded me also of Peridia in the Ahsoka series. With that castle there and the Night Sisters and the witches and stuff. So if you just to kind of expand your palette of what Star Wars can be, maybe not should be, but it can be, it's nice to watch stuff like this or the holiday special to kind of say, oh, maybe that show I was ragging on actually wasn't so bad by comparison.
Yeah.
Or to say, it can do more things than just what I personally want to see out of Star Wars, I guess. But
yeah. I'm glad they tried. That period in the 80s where they were trying to keep the Star Wars thing alive.
Yeah.
So,
and now we know, after having seen these, we know why it was not kept alive for much longer, but that's okay.
Not quite sure if the Ewoks were the thing to latch on to. So,
I'm glad George was having fun. I hope he was having fun, but
yeah. But all right, man. Well, let's go ahead and call it on this. That was a fun journey through the Star Wars mythos. Thanks again, and
Yes,
thank you
for
to
doing that.
Eliza and Quinn for not leaving us upon finishing the first movie and then realizing there was a second that
Yes.
they also had to get through. They're troopers, man. God bless them. All right. Well, hey, just the usual part of the show where if you like this show, if you like us, or if you like the things we talk about and don't like us, whatever, I don't know your reasoning. If you like any of it, please go ahead and make sure that you're subscribed to the show, be it YouTube, your podcast providers, whatever. Maybe it would help. It would be nice if you could drop in a little, review or a rating. That always helps us out. We put a little link in our Instagram bio for that. Be sure you're following us on Instagram at SWTVC. That's our home online. That's where you can find all the stuff that we do. And by we, I mean, John, you just put stuff out a lot. We share a lot of community photography, all that fun stuff, news, whatever. But John putting out really good think pieces, and you just did the Rebels ones. Thank you for doing that. Those were fun.
Don't unfollow us if we post too much Ewok stuff in the next few weeks.
Yes. Bear with us.
Stay strong. Bear with us. Oh my God. And as Mace said, I had this quote ready to go and I forgot about it. As he says, "These bears are nuts." So.
Well,
there you go.
Perfect. On that note, thanks everybody for listening. And as always, keep 375 alive and may the Force be with you.